Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Rick Broderson. I'm a certified HVAC mechanic electrician in the state of Washington. Been doing this for over 15 years, and what I'm going to show you today is how to wire a gas furnace to a generator. And basically what we're doing, all we're doing is electrical hookup today. And it's real simple. There's several variations you can do, but on this one what we're going to do is rewire our incoming power right here, put a outlet box with an outlet, and then where it wires into our furnace here, we're actually going to do a pigtail which will plug right in. Now I know this is, I've done this several times and had homes inspected and passed. NEC code has some different variations. A lot of them say that it just has to be on a single independent circuit for your furnace, which is what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you the materials that we need for that to make that possible. So we still meet the code. You don't have to worry about any regulations like this, and this is something that basically anyone can do after watching this video. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this next part is we're going to make sure that the power is on and then off. And one of the best ways to do that is with these little Fluke volt sticks that I have here. And this is an older version. I don't know if you can see the tip there too well, but it's meant to go into an outlet, and it lights up when there's power. You can see when I do it like that, it kind of flashes, and it just uses the electromagnetic of the power that it detects through a little coil. This is one of their newer versions, the volt light. Turn it on, and has a LED light on the end. Which isn't bad. It's nice to have a little light for your pocket. And then it's really hard to see probably in the video, but this part lights up differently. And so when it's in the presence of power, it goes from like a bluish light to a reddish light. I'm going to try to do it here and see if you guys can, I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this part right here is the video where I was trying to show on the furnace whether or not it had power. There's just too much light, and so I'm going to show you guys right now. Here's the wonderful end of our volt stick, and when I get close over here to the power, you should see it glowing. Away there. Now you can kind of see what I was talking about that I couldn't tell you before. None of these other ones here have power. That one does. So, and I'll show you this one. This is the one with the light on it, and see if you can see it this time. You can see it kind of has that blue. Here, let me get it in focus. Actually, there's kind of a blue light there, and it turns. Can you tell? A blue to like a red. Like I said, it works when it's dark, but man, I really don't like it compared to this one. And this one's just way better. So anyways, that's it. I'm going to skip over the one section of video that I was trying to show you guys that, and we'll move on. Thanks. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is check with the meter. And you're probably not going to see this. I'll try to find something to clamp this onto that you can see the readout. Probably can't see that there. I don't want to hit the hold button, but I'm just going to touch the two leads there. I'm also going to go to ground and touch. I'm also going to touch on the conduit here, which should be connected to ground at our box, at our breaker panel. So there's no power, everything's shut off. So I'm safe to put this away. We're safe to work on the electrical. We're going to move on to the next section, which is going to be disconnecting our incoming power and relocating that to an outlet box. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So on this one, what we have is just a piece of 1/2-inch conduit, and quick and easy way. Now I didn't show any wrenches on there, but this is a quick way to break that nut and loosen this up. I'll pull that off. These have some pretty long wires. Now it's also wired in here is a sump pump, or a little condensate pump I should say, and we got to make sure we rewire that up so if the air conditioning is running, that this can pump out the condensate properly. You don't want to disconnect anything. And we also have down at the bottom here the ground, and they're just grounding it through a spade terminal. So that's what we got there. I'll pull these all off, and we got 3 wires. We got our hot, our neutral, and the ground. And you should have all that. If you're missing the ground, then they might be using the conduit as a ground. And if they are doing that, it's not, most time it's not code anymore. But that doesn't mean somebody hasn't done that to your house. So what you're going to need to do in that case is run, make sure you connect the ground to the box when it's coming in here. So I'm just going to pull this apart, pull this out. There we go, get that disconnected. Okay, and we're going to move on to the next section here, which will be mounting up our conduit box, outlet box here. This is just a standard, I think they call this a handy box or something like that. And it has a knockout on the top here, on the sides. So I'm just going to come right in the top, because that'll be the easiest way with this one. And so what I got to do is knock that out. And the easiest way to do that is grabbing a screwdriver or a nail, and you can see where let it focus in there on the tab here. There's a tab. Now that's the part that's still connected. This other part has basically been broken, and you want to go on the opposite side. Sometimes they'll have 2 tabs. You want to go whatever furthest away is for the resistance, and just knock that tab out. So that's what I've done here. And then sometimes you gotta use a pair of pliers, sometimes you gotta knock it again. But now once that's broken through, you can mount that now. And one of the things I like to do is just kind of pull this stuff through first to start. That way I make sure that I get it mounted and everything looks nice. So it looks pretty good right there. So I just need to screw that to that. So just bring that up just a tad. You're going to want to at least put 2 screws in. Some people might put more. Figured since I got them here, might as well use them. Okay, now our box is secured. We're going to want to run this lock nut back up. If you like to use a flathead screwdriver and you just kind of tighten that down, you can use a open end wrench and stuff like that, but usually you'll find most electricians kind of do something like this when it's a real tight box. So that's good and secure. So now we have that ready to go. And this just needs to be wired to our receptacle. Okay, now as you can see, the box has been set, and what we're going to do is go ahead and cut these wires and get them ready to put on the outlet. So I got the outlet here, and just going to show you real quick. I don't know if you can see it from the picture from before, but it is just a single duplex, so, or not a duplex, but a single outlet. And the purpose of this is that the NEC code, National Electric Code, requires that gas furnace or appliance, a lot of times how they designate it, needs to be on its own separate circuit. If you were to put one that has two outlets on here, like a standard house outlet, in theory someone else could plug something in there and blow the circuit. Now I'm not really sure why they set it up that way, but that's the way it is. And in order for you to pass code, a lot of times this will be required. The first time I did one of these for a friend, we put in just a standard outlet. He sold this house 3 or 4 years after the fact. And when they had everything inspected, it passed fine, no problem. So I don't know if it's that much of an issue, but for this one, we're gonna set it up that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these cut here and get those on the way. So now I'm gonna strip these away here, and we'll just go over again on the outlet real quick. This is your ground. I need something to point to here. This is your hot side. Sorry. That's your neutral side, so the longer one. I was trying to get this camera to refocus, but for some reason it's only focused once, so that's alright. So a lot of times they change the screws. Not all of them are all the same, but usually you know, the silver one is your neutral. Usually they have a brass colored screw for your hot, and then sometimes the ground is green, and this one does have a green tinge to it. You probably can't tell on the camera, but the ground is always connected kind of throughout. Sometimes they're up top, you know, they're all over. Now this does have the push-in terminals on the back here, and that would be, you would actually push your wire just straight into those. Most electricians I know don't like them at all, and don't use them. So it's easy, but they tend to loosen up, and there's no way to really tighten them down. And there's only a small area that's actually gripping on that conducts electricity through. So you usually only see that in new homes that they put that in. So you know, my house, that's not what I do, and I do everything the way I would do it for my house, or you know, for your mom. How would you do it for your mom, or for, you know, or something like that? So you want to make it as safe as possible, and so I just like to be able to go in and retighten up an outlet, because over time from the heat and conduction they do loosen up, and with these you can't do that, and so you can actually have a fire eventually. Now they have them on there, so they must have passed after so many years, but just for reference, that's something I wouldn't recommend. Okay, and I'm gonna strip these away here, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of practice to learn how much to strip away. Or, you know, you can always strip away more if you strip away too much, and then you know, you can't kind of put it back. You gotta cut the wire down some more, so it takes a little bit of time to kind of learn. And I got 12 gauge solid here. Usually I'll have 12 or 14 gauge. 12 is rated for 20 amps. 14 is rated for 15 amps. This is only a 15 amp outlet. It's on a 15 amp circuit. It's been overwired, so obviously somebody ran a little bit larger wire here than they needed to, but hey, it's better to have more than not enough. So on these pliers, you'll see on, I wish I could refocus. Let me try this. Yeah, that doesn't work, but there's some numbers on the sides. On the right, it's the stranded size, and on the left is your solid wire. So if you didn't really know what you're doing, you just match up to the 12 gauge solid side, and I'm going to show you my little circle around you're going to do, and I guess that's probably 3/4 of a minute maybe. We'll try that. Now, ground doesn't really matter, obviously, how long you really do it. A lot of times the ground's actually bare. It's interesting, on this one it's coated, so sometimes they're not, sometimes they're just a bare wire. This is obviously from some higher quality wire that they ran through here. Well, it's actually because it's solid wire that they ran, but okay, so now we got that. We're going to go ahead and just wire this up. And so I'm going to take my hot side, and I like to get them coordinated for the right angle. And I seem to work whatever side you want. And one of the tricks I like to do, a lot of these have this little area here for these holes. And you can actually put it right in there and loop it around, kind of left and right. And so then when you're tightening these down, you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey, you want them to wrap around on the right hand side. Sometimes people just stick them straight in, something like that. You can see that. And here, let me zoom in a little bit. There, so some people will actually just stick them in kind of like that and tighten them down. It works. I've seen inspectors not see that and pass it, but it's not the way to do it right. And we want to make sure we do it right, so don't do that. What you want to do is make a little loop. I'm going to make a loop on all of these. And usually it's kind of a half loop to get it started. Sometimes you can do a little more depending on what you got going on. So this one I'm going to wrap a little more. And usually that size makes it really nice. And so I'm going to start on the ground side. You can see how it loops around there. And so I'm just going to try to do two hands here. I can see it, but what I like to do is just grab this here and just tighten it down a little bit. If I can get it here, trying to do it for the camera, and hopefully you can see it there pretty good. So I've zoomed in a little more here, so try to refocus it. So now you can see that's kind of wrapped all the way around there. That looks really good. So what we're going to do, we'll just do that on the rest here. And the last thing I do is tighten them down. And the reason for that, it just makes it a little easier when you're doing everything. If you do it last, of course you don't want to forget. And so there, I just got the neutral one, and then we're going to go back to the hot side. Alright, and there we go. And on the hot side, so the reason why I like to wait till last is it just makes it easier when you're putting everything on there that's not already stiff and tightened up. Now we do have a metal conduit box, and you can ground to the box, but because this is going through the screw, I'm not grounding through to the box. So certain areas it's required. If you're using a metal conduit box, you gotta put a ground on it. So we're not doing that today. We're just going straight through the ground. This will be grounded, which in fact will actually ground this, even though some people will tell you it won't. And then we're going to ground it to the appliance, our furnace here, and it'll be perfectly safe. This is how I do it for my house. This is how I do it for anyone. That, you know, you got to do it right. This isn't about just getting it done. It's about doing it right the first time. And when it comes to emergencies, and you're wiring this for an emergency situation, this could be, you know, your grandmother coming out here and you're trying to tell her over the phone how to disconnect something, and you just don't, you know, you don't want to take that chance. So now we got this, and it's all tightened up there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, now we're all zoomed out. This isn't the greatest camera on my other videos. It's a lot more high definition. We're using higher quality and taking a lot more time. This is just a quick video I want to post on YouTube, just to get it out there. And so we're gonna just put this back in the box, and you want to do is bend these wires. You always want to make sure it's long enough to work on, long enough that if you come back, that you know, you have plenty of space for adding on and stuff like that. So one of the things I like to do is just kind of twist it just enough and actually push it back all the way before you screw it. Make sure everything clears. Look on both the left and right side. Make sure that nothing's touching. Like if you had a bare ground here, you want to make sure it's not coming across the neutral or the hot. I mean, usually I always do it on the neutral side. This is actually, I'm getting a little more than I want to talk about today, but this would actually be touching the ground, and the neutral is actually on the same bar on your breaker. But regardless, let's just call it a different something else. So now we're ready to tighten that up. Grab my trusty Klein screwdriver here. And I will recommend to you guys and gals that if you're gonna buy tools, I mean, this could be said for anything, but you know, buy quality. And I'll say that out of everything I've used for tool wise, that the Kleins are the best. So for doing electrical work. Okay, so we just got the outlet all wired up. We got the single outlet, and you gotta make sure you put the cover on it, or else it won't meet code. Some kid could stick their finger in there and get electrocuted. I know I did when I was little. So now that we get our outlet down here, all we gotta do is just wire up our pigtail to the furnace, and then we're good to go. So let that tighten down, and so now our furnace circuit is on this. It's completely independent. The power is off right now. Okay. So now what we got left is just to wire up our pigtail, and what I have for that is a power supply cord appliance connector, and it's 14 gauge, 15 amp. Now it's very important that you guys get the maximum size we can. They do sell a 16 gauge 13 amp, which would probably be fine, but if you guys just want to do it right, spend a couple dollars more and buy the one that's the 15 amp. More than likely your furnace is probably only drawn, even a large furnace, 7 or 8 amps. And what this has is, it's just, instead of having the plug-in, it has the wires ready to go, stripped here. White, black, and green. And of course they make it too short for you, so then you have to cut it a little more. But so what we have for that is we have a little connector here that will feed our cord through. That will go back on the plug where our wire was going before. Real easy. And I'll tighten that down. That's good to go. Okay. We're just gonna feed that through. Okay, now our cord has been pulled in, and what we need to do is pull a couple things off here. So I got a ground down here at the bottom that I just want to make sure is secured, because I'm going to reuse that. So cut that, strip that down. That's good. And got to make sure I reconnect up my condensate pump here. I got my black, white, ground, and it looks like whoever's this was, that they never connected up the ground to the condensate pump. It could have shorted out and become an electrical hazard, so that's not good. So we strip that down, and we got our power cord itself. And as you can see, it's a little short for having to put ties on the end, so I'm going to cut this back a little further. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to score it just a little bit. You don't want to penetrate any of the insulation on these wires. And if you break it, it'll start to score. So now I got this pulled apart here, and let's pull those down, and those are all ready to go. And we're ready to, I'm going to strip these down a little more. This is only about a 1/2 inch. I like to have 3/4 inch on mine, so I'm going to strip these down just a little bit more. It might be hard to get them over that area that's been tinned with solder. And if you're wondering what that is, it keeps all the strands together. It's kind of nice, but can also be a pain at the same time. So the one important thing is that you're going to have to make sure you select the right wire nuts for the end of these. And there's got different sizes. There's red, yellows, oranges. Now yours could be terminated a whole different way. It could be terminated on a board. That would make it real easy. So kind of trial and error. There is a guide reference that you can use for these, but pull these wires out here. So I got my, I'm going to start with the ground. So I got my ground here. Probably strip those back a little bit more. There we go. We got two stranded. 14, 12, and 12. I know from experience that that's going to be yellow wire nut. What you want to do is make this really tight to the point that it's not twisting anymore, and none of the wires, if you pull on them individually, pull or move at all. If they don't move or pull out or do anything like that, you're good to go. So now we're going to move on to the next one, and that will be our neutral. We got a lot of wires going on here. There's 1, 2, 3 coming off the control board, and then 2. So we're going to have 5 on that one. That's going to be a red wire net. And so, look at that. These ones aren't actually long enough. They do have them taped here. I'm going to pull that tape off just because I need to strip these down a little bit more. Get some more wire there. Like I said before, don't be afraid to get in here and get your hands dirty with this stuff. With the stranded ones, you really want to twist them around good. And since this one's kind of tinned on the end, it's almost like it's solid. You want to make sure the starting point is equal on the far end as well. I'm going to try this one. Now, I had to go bigger because all these wires wouldn't fit in on the end. Look good. There's nothing coming out the end of the cap, so we're good there. So now we just got left is our one hot wire, and that stranding on here looks pretty well used. Cut that back a bit. Start with some fresh. Good. So we've got our condensate pump, and then our power coming in from our little plug. There we go. Now, I don't know if you guys can really see, but I'm trying to get it equal on the end there, and I'm going to use another yellow cap on here. Twist these together. You really got to make sure you take your time and do this right. If you're unsure, undo it and redo it. Spend as much time as you can. Actually tug, look back, make sure there's nothing sticking out. And something a lot of electricians do, some don't, is electrical tape. And putting electrical tape on the end of this, just to make the secure these wires. And you always want to put this on in the direction of your tightening your wire nut on, so right, and you want to start just on the wire itself first. So now you're holding all the wires together, and then just wrap, come over the cap a little bit, and that's it. And do that to all of them. See, our white one's kind of coming back a little bit, so I gotta come back a little further here. Alright. This keeps vibration from loosening it up, having the cap fall off, overheating. It kind of contains everything if it does short. Okay, so we just finished up all the wiring. What we're going to do is just plug everything in, verify everything works here. And so, like I said, got the short pigtail coming out. Everything's wired, double checked everything, our receptacle's done. Make sure everything's cleaned up, picked up. Now this thing's dirty. We're gonna, on another video, go through cleaning, checking the maintenance, kind of all that sort of thing. But right now we're gonna fire this up and check it to go. And so now this is completely separate. To run this on a generator, all we would need to do is unplug it, plug it into a extension cord, run that outside to our small generator, and we're fired up, ready to go. So plug that in. Now you can run this shorter if you want. You could probably get away with it being longer, but I would think for code reasons you just want to keep it as short as you probably could. So that's it. I'm gonna leave the panel off now, turn the power on. So just a quick recap and kind of short tutorial here of what we did on this gas furnace. And our purpose was that we want to make it so we could independently power this up in the event of an emergency, that our incoming power to the house was off due to a storm, anything like that, that we would have to rely on a generator for temporary heat. This application is great because you could run the generator just a couple times when you need to heat up the house, and you know, charge batteries, you know, run a hot plate, you know, various items, some lights, you know, just a limited amount of things. And the nice part with the natural gas is that it really doesn't draw a whole lot of power, and so it's really the way to go. So as you can see here, what we've done is our incoming power, which used to come right into the furnace here, I rerouted it in this this box, this outlet box. We did a single outlet, which is required by NEC code. I'm going to try to find it in the code book where it shows that, so I can reference for you guys. But basically it states that on a single gas-fired appliance, it needs to have its own dedicated circuit. So that's why we do the single outlet rather than two, because in theory somebody else could plug something in here, like a sump pump or something, for instance, you know, a separate pump, not like that, and overload the circuit. So that's what we got, and I'm just going to pop this open real quick and just show you. Nothing special here. We still haven't done the cleaning, so I'm just going to bring it on in here. And so I kind of not shown on the other part kind of what I did, but that's basically what we got. And it just comes through there, and then our pigtail, you know, I just left the excess here. I could have cut it shorter, but I didn't. You can cut it shorter if you want. We have our neutral, our hot, and our ground. It's kind of grounded in the corner there. That's it. I mean, it's really simple. And so in the event of emergency, we would just unplug this, run that to our extension cord, and then when mainline power comes back on, I just plug it back in. All good to go.